afraid, but I don't break. I heard you question my stability. You think I'll fall just like a guillotine, but I am here to stay. Won't look away. The storm is coming, so you better start running. No, you can't control, feel it in my bones. I'm coming for the, coming for the. I'm coming for the throne. I'm coming for the throne. So you wanna be my enemy? You should've known I'd never kiss the rain. Ice runs in my veins, won't play it safe. I don't belong with your nobility. Who died and made you king of anything? You think that I'm insane? It's your mistake. Kingdoms rise and fall, I've come to take it all. I'll take it, I've come to take it. Kingdoms rise and fall, I've come to take it all. I'll take it all. The storm is coming, so you better start running. No, you can't control, feel it in my bones. I'm coming for the, coming for the. I'm coming for the throne. I'm coming for the throne.
Let's go. Yo, I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. I send the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, cause that's what it takes. Pieces is a form of art. I'm never gonna look back. built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, 'cause that's what it takes.
All right, guys, howdy. Happy Thursday. Hope y'all are doing good. Let's get some guests in here. Hang on one second. Who do we got in the back room? The Monkey Tamer. What's going on, Mediocre?
What's up, Paisan? How are you?
Been a long week, I tell you what.
Absolutely. I've been extremely busy.
I have too. Let's talk about that for a second. Howdy, everybody in the chat. Pam, Anya, Treetop. Who else? Tito, Blazin, Manicio, Stop at the Base. Good. Slap at the Base. Matt, how you doing? AMC Hawkeye, good evening. Mr. Premium of the Option. I love it. Yeah, I'm just having Dos Equis tonight. It's been a heck of a hot week here, Mediocre, and
Cheers, brother.
I've been doing a lot of outdoor work on what I call the project truck. A vehicle that somebody gave to us. A nice truck, but they were not on top of the maintenance, Mediocre. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm always on top of the maintenance of my vehicles. So on the one hand, you get a free truck. Probably I checked it on Blue Book. It's worth about 11 grand. But
can't beat that.
Free is good, but there's repairs that needed to be done. It had 3 dashboard lights on, the ABS, the traction control, and the 4 high, 4 low were all blinking. I got that fixed. I've been doing all this myself. So my making money this week is not spending it at a repair shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything that I've done is probably thousands of dollars. So I'm trading my hours for not paying a mechanic, which is the luxury of not having to go to a job anymore. I have time to work on stuff, and I enjoy it. And I like problem solving. But some of these things, I'm not a trained mechanic. I've done mechanic work. I rebuilt that 69 Camaro, and I know my way around a wrench, but I never went to any sort of mechanic school. So it took me a couple days, like for the dashboard lights, the ABS, traction control, looking up like who else has had this problem. And man, the amount of people that have had the problem was a lot, but the solutions were not many. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they people, I took it to the dealer and they charged me $2,000, $3,000. They replaced this, replaced that. Still didn't fix it. They don't know what's going on. You know how much it cost me after I spent about probably 2 days researching. You know how much it cost me to fix that?
How much?
$30.
That ain't bad.
Not bad.
It was right there.
It was the left rear wheel speed sensor. And if the computer in the vehicle can't see the wheel spinning, then it just basically disables a lot of stuff. So you get those dashboard lights. There were a lot of things that it could have been. I started with the simplest and most easy to do, but I also have a scanner that I ran on the car, and it confirmed that the left rear speed sensor was bad before I even ordered the part. So that was helpful, but I was still like, please work. So I did that. And then I've also been replacing brakes. So calipers, rotors, pads, all the way around. I mean, I don't know if you saw the picture that I posted, but the rotor, like on the front right, there was literally nothing left of it.
Yeah, I did see that picture.
Nothing left of it. Like the replacement thickness, I think on that vehicle is on the front like 21 millimeters, and I don't know, might have been 10 or 12. It was down. If it had gone any more, it would have been shredding the rotor.
Yeah, I mean, I had one like that on my F-250. I said, oh, my brother's like, God damn, I never seen one that bad.
So I got to get all this stuff replaced because we got to get the vehicle state inspection before we can get the plates put in our name. And I don't know if I'm going to keep the truck or flip it. I'll decide that once I get it all fixed. But part of the decision tree was how much is it going to cost to repair it? And if it was something like, oh, it needed a new engine, then obviously I'd just sell it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend $3 or $4 grand on an engine. But so far it's been, I think I probably have rotors, brakes, calipers, and the sensor maybe probably under $800 in it, just in parts.
That ain't bad, though.
And that's buying them, off of Rock Auto or Amazon, mid-price parts. But just imagine, Mediocre, if you had to do all of that at the dealer. Like, you know what the dealer charges for that speed sensor just for the part?
I don't.
$200.
Really?
$200. Crazy. So that's been about my last week, and I have been, coming in here and checking on the stocks, obviously, and putting some videos out that nobody's watching. Some educational videos. Nobody likes those, but that's okay. They serve a purpose, and they're a good evergreen content. Hopefully you guys check those out. They're, if you want to learn how to look at a financial statement, I'm not trying to do the educational videos like, oh, if you want to pass a CPA test, watch this video. I'm kind of thinking like, if I was a retail trader that didn't know anything, what's the bare minimum that I need to know on things like retained earnings or debt to equity ratio or return on equity? Because I see a lot of people on YouTube channels talking about things like, here's how I come up with my price target, but they're looking at completely the wrong things. Mediocre. Case in point this week, someone who I know is very bullish on AMC and much respect. I appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody's input and comments and thoughts and analysis. But he said, based on Cinemark's price to sales ratio, once, shortly at some point in the future, if AMC's price to sales ratio match Cinemark's, then we should be at like $35.
No.
And I'm just thinking to myself, price to sales ratio, I've never heard one analyst give a price target for a stock based off of price to sales ratio. You know what I mean?
I do.
Analysts look at earnings. What are the earnings? What are the future earnings? What's the return on equity? What's the enterprise value to EBITDA? Things that have to do with earnings is what they look at to give you price targets. You could throw in dividends and do a discounted cash flow analysis if there were dividends. But price to sales ratio is kind of more of it's a barometer that you might use to, okay, if I'm choosing to invest between AMC and Cinemark and they're both profitable, for example, how is one performing relative to the other? I view it more as a comparison ratio than a price target setting ratio, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I hear people on the GameStop channels, they're saying AMC's trash because they have 8 or 9 billion in negative retained earnings. Don't matter. That won't matter, guys. Once AMC is booking profitable quarters, the analysts are going to shift their focus to what are the earnings and the forecast future earnings. Does negative retained earnings matter? Yeah. If you're just like walking fresh up to a stock and you see negative 9 billion retained earnings, or that's going to be a red flag. Like, how did this happen? And that's why you need to then dig into the financial statements. But we've already gone over all of that for the past 2 or 3 years, how that happened with AMC. They're booking losses every quarter. But once they turn the corner, then retained earnings, it's still there. It's going to get better. It's going to improve. Might take many years for it to get positive, but Wall Street will focus on the company booking positive earnings to set a price. So I don't think if you're a financial whiz, if you're a analyst or a finance expert or a CPA and you have a different opinion than what I'm saying, let me know in the chat. I think that retained earnings is not going to matter once the company is profitable, but it always is a red flag. If you're looking at a balance sheet and you see negative retained earnings before you invest, that ought to give you pause to say, I better understand what's going on here before I go buy this stock, if I'm planning to hold it for a long time.
You better understand it, Tony.
You better.
What'd you think of the overall market today? Did you look at it?
I had my screens open here and here, and then I was watching a couple of the surprise plays of the day, stocks that I was not expecting to run, although we see this thing from time to time. And I'm talking about Mullen and FFIE, and congrats if you had bought in on the dip or had some call options on those. I'm not a big fan of either company because of their financials, and Mullen especially with the dilution, but Mediocre, FFIE on no news, went up 123% today. And Mullen was up how much? 42%. I mean, if you got in low, that's a pretty decent gain. Take some profits. I think that both of these will come back down in the oncoming days. So,
I mean, I was watching this morning, and when we were chatting, and the market started dipping, and I had to run to work.
I came in. I was here for market open. I popped in a little bit around lunchtime, and I came back for market close. And then I was just tired and beat down from the sun. I haven't been getting a lot of sleep because my wife's on the opposite work schedule, so she wants me to stay up all night. Oh, just stay up all night. Let's talk. Let's watch a movie. I can't stay awake 24 hours a day, Mediocre, but I stay awake as long as I can and share some time with her. And she ends up staying up all night and then sleeps during the day with her new shift.
Yeah,
so I went and took a nap today after the market closed from like 4 to 5 o'clock, and then got right back to it.
That's why you're so energized tonight.
Yeah, maybe so.
Like, holy smokes.
Mayflower, what's going on? She says, how big is Mediocre's share?
Hi,
What do you got there?
Mayflower. How are you?
Chuckles G, how you doing? Your wife's boyfriend, what's going on? Whatever tickers y'all want to talk about tonight, feel free to drop them in the chat. The kind of curious thing related to AMC and GameStop, the reason I put them in the title tonight, I don't know if you saw that, Mediocre, but let me throw up the chart here. The strange thing is, let me get Mullen off of there. We've been trading in this range now since May. And we, as you know, we had a very high volume in May and it tapered off going into June. But now we're back in this super low, kind of boring volume, 8, 10, 12, 5 million shares a day. And I see everybody either really concerned or really optimistic about the low volume. And I think last live stream, Mediocre, we talked about our thoughts on the volume. Do you have any new thoughts? Let me open this up so we can look at the supply and demand zones here. We're stuck in this range between 430 and 570, if I'm counting the wicks.
Yeah.
What do you think about the volume? I mean, clearly some people do volume analysis. I pay attention to volume from time to time, especially when a stock is moving, right, in a squeeze or a run up. But what are your general thoughts when we're just stuck in a pattern like this for 3-4 months and the volume is almost non-existent?
I mean, I feel like, people aren't really, buying too much or selling too much, or just kind of like just sitting there. People are trading, but not a lot of people want to trade right in this range. That's what's going on. People want to hold here. Some people want to sell here. The price doesn't really want to move too much.
Yep. I was talking
to make money.
I was talking to some other investors on Twitter, just saying, "What do you think about the volume?" Let me see if I got a response. I asked Mike to come in tonight. He said he had a long week, but let's see what he said. Potential manipulation. But yeah, his general thoughts before I asked him what he thought about the volume, just because I like to hear other people's opinions. I think Mediocre shares kind of like the same things that we've been saying for the past week or so. Is box office is we're optimistic about Q3 box office, but it's not in the bag, so to speak, just yet. We still have 40 days to go.
I mean, how do the numbers look?
I haven't looked at. Let me pull up Box Office Mojo. I think last time I looked, we were just over 1.8 billion domestic, and I want to see 2.4 minimum. We're at almost at 1.9. So I think we get there easily, 2.4. We should be probably at, what do you think? Close to 2 billion by the end of this month. That means we only need to do 500 million in the whole month of September.
I mean, right now it's the 22nd of August. So, what do we got? A week and a half before Beetlejuice comes out?
Yeah, we got Beetlejuice, we got Transformers, and we got that, I think the Wild Robot movie also. And then we have The Crow opening this weekend, but it's, I was checking on pre-reserved seating like for tonight. I almost went to go see The Crow tonight. There were on our IMAX with like several hundred seats in it, maybe 15 sold. And I asked my son, my college age son, if he and his girlfriend wanted to go with me and my wife to go see The Crow next week. He's like, "What's The Crow?" I think there might be this generational gap, Mediocre. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't know.
They don't know.
Didn't the original Crow, the guy got killed on the on scene?
Yeah, Brandon Lee.
That's what I thought I remembered that.
So we're going to go see Aliens again. It'll be my second time and their first time on Monday. And then maybe I'll, go see The Crow after that. I was going to see it tonight, but my wife had to work. And when she found out that I was going, she's like, I want to see that movie too. So I canceled my ticket and I'll reschedule it for next week with her. Sometimes I go by myself. She's not as big of a movie fan as me. And, but if she wants to see it, obviously I'm going to wait and go with her.
Absolutely.
Matt says, I've been watching AMC and GameStop, been doing the wheel strategy on GameStop when it hit 18. Booyah, Matt. Been making money on it going up or down thanks to your video. I'm going to do another GameStop TA video.
Good job, Matt. I like it, buddy. Keep it up.
After this week closes out, I'll do a TA video both on AMC and GameStop. There's been a lot of crazy talk. Sorry.
Tony, you know what we got to do? We got to get Rolf to come on with us.
Yeah, Rolf, where you at, man?
Come on, Rolf.
There's been a lot of hype talk, not crazy talk. I used the wrong word. There's been a lot of hype talk on GameStop. And I know where some of it's coming from because God bless them, but the Bed Bath & Beyond crowd shifted over to GameStop and they're kind of infiltrating the social media push of information. And now they're hyping a bunch of fake dates or, theoretical dates on GameStop. And I just hate to see that.
Let's hope they're successful, Tony. That's all we can do, right?
I mean, if they are, God bless them. But I think our next really interesting date for GameStop is going to be the upcoming earnings, where we find out if they made a profit or not for the quarter. I really don't know what else could move it unless Keith comes back.
Yeah, where's he been, man? What's up with
Where
that?
is Keith? Roaring Kitty, where you at, man? Cheers.
Cheers. That's a good one. Salute.
This is the GameStop chart. Let me put this up here real quick. And let me get this chat off of here so I can see. So we ran all the way up into this lower supply zone, Mediocre, on GameStop.
Yep.
And of course, the day that it peaked right here, people immediately come in my comments and say, "Oh, Tony, you said it was going down to 17." Guys, you need to listen to what I actually say. I'm talking about swing trading or supply and demand zone trading. I think, people just have this negative connotation that I don't like the stock or that I'm convinced it's going to tank. As I've been doing my TA videos, I've been very clear that if it drops down here, that's where I would like to buy.
Absolutely.
If it pushes up to here, that's where I'd like to sell. I can't tell you from day to day what is going to happen, other than looking at the candles and trying to do some TA on it. But let's see, we're on the daily. After this big move up, I bought down here. I sold after it pushed up. And then I think my next TA video, I said we need to wait and see what happens, because it's probably going to want to move up to here and then bounce down. And I don't want to be buying because people are hyping stuff on Twitter, hyping dates and stuff, when I know, in my own opinion, my DD, that if it gets up there, the most likely thing is it's going to reject down. Now, how far down does it go from there, Mediocre? What's your experience? I'm going to answer as well, but I want to hear you say it first.
I'd say it gets to between 18 and $20.
And I would say we don't know. I mean, it once it rejects off of here, then we need to see what happens next, right?
I
That's
mean,
where the paper
you're
comes.
saying it could bounce on the top of your box there, which is possible, right?
Yeah, it could just do what AMC is doing and just like hang in this range till earnings.
My problem is here's my problem with all stocks at the moment, right? Is if you look at what's going on with the broader market, um, things haven't been looking really, really good. I mean, we did recover from that first dip, but today wasn't a great day in the overall market, Tony. And a lot of stocks took a hit on that. I don't know.
I just feel like in my bones right now that caution and patience for the general market and some of these more speculative plays is kind of in order.
I mean, I'm not trading GameStop because I think it's overvalued at the moment, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I basically agree. I mean, it is overvalued, but I'm not opposed to trading it. If I can get a good entry, like I bought here at on the 5th at 1934. Even that was a pretty good entry. I think $19. I still think it's a dumb short below 20 until we hear the next earnings. Once we hear the next earnings, whether it's a loss or a gain, I might change my opinion. But based on what I know right now, I think it's a dumb short under $20.
Well, that's why I want to buy it there, Tony.
You're right. That's why I bought it. That's why I bought it. As soon as it went under, I was like, that's a pretty safe entry, knowing what we know now. We're a bit away from earnings, not expecting any news, and what else? It was well down in the demand zone.
In all fairness, Tony, I'm not really, rooting for the thing to go down or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't personally care if it does or it doesn't, but if it does go to that area, I would try to pick some up.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying.
All I'm trying to do is play the chart and minimize my risk. And so for me, buying GameStop every day is not an option, because I'd be really pissed if I was buying it every day and it went up to 22.68 and then spent the next 10 days coming back down here
Yeah,
to $20. Like all I needed to do was be patient for 10 days, and I could have bought more shares with the same money just by waiting. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, I know what you mean.
So please don't misinterpret my attempt to get a good entry as being negative on the stock. I just, I trade it differently than a dedicated GameStop channel, but I don't hate the stock. I look at the financial statements. I look at what's going on with the company and the industry, and then I look at the chart. It's multiple layers.
I think what people don't realize, Tony, is time matters, right? And what I mean by that is, if you're underwater for a period of time in a position, right, then you're not making money during that time frame. And life is too short to get stuck in the positions like that. I try not to put myself in the positions like that because I'm trying to generate money for retirement and a better life, to be honest with you. So I personally am very cautious on what I do. I know some might not think so, and that's fine, but I think I'm very cautious on what I do.
Some might not think so. Were you talking about me?
No, not you. There's others besides you, Tony. There's others who say, "Goddamn mediocre, you're fucking crazy."
Anya says, any updates on Intel? Intel I have as a long-term play, Anya, as you know. My entries were around $20 and a little bit under at 1923. We had some bad news today. It says Intel stock drops amid doubts about new plant in Germany. This is a stock that I'm not watching minute by minute, Anya. If I tell you it's a 5-year play for me, the beauty of that is I don't need to watch the stock every tick. I just need to watch it once a week or so. See if it's moving up, great. If it's moving down, maybe 15% below where I bought in, I'll check the news and figure out if I still believe in the play, and then I'll add to my position. But I don't think Intel is going bankrupt. So I'm not worried about getting wiped out. And we had a really nice pullback on Intel since December. And if we look at a little bit larger time frame, we're buying it on prices that you haven't been able to get since 2014. So I think, not financial advice. And I still owe you guys a video on Intel now that it's pulled down to a reasonable level. We need to talk about what is the risk of further price erosion from this level, because it's not a risk-free play even at $20.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about it, Tony, myself, to be honest.
It's not risk-free, but it's free enough for me to start accumulating a position. You guys know, if you've been watching my channel, I've been not on the channel so much as in the Discord, been talking about Intel for a long time, that if it ever gave me a good entry, I wanted to get that in my portfolio as a play to kind of be a counter NVIDIA, a contra NVIDIA play in case NVIDIA ever stumbles. But no, I'm not buying it every day. I'm not even watching it every day. And this is probably, unless I'm not expecting any news to make Intel skyrocket. So unless that were to happen, I'm just going to be probably talking about this stock on and off occasionally on the channel, maybe once a quarter or so for the next several years.
Where's Intel's products made? Are they made in Taiwan?
I don't recall off the top of my head. I'll make sure I go over that.
I want to do some research on that.
I don't think it's Taiwan, Mediocre. They have the new foundry that they're building in the U.S.
Yeah.
But the reason that it's kind of a contra NVIDIA play is that's where NVIDIA's manufacturing is. And if there were ever anything to happen to in China and Taiwan, you could see NVIDIA crash and possibly AMD and Intel move up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's just one theory of many. And I don't have any facts to back that up. It's just kind of a working theory. Like, if that were to happen, is there a price? And I started talking about this months ago in the Discord. I was kind of like, if that ever were to happen, is there a price that I could see myself at some point in the future buying Intel? And then we got handed this gift, this massive drop. And I was like, all right, that's good enough for me. Even though I haven't completed all my DD, that's good enough for me to start accumulating some shares.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of thinking about it.
Treetop
says
says
research on it tomorrow and this weekend for sure. I haven't done anything on it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what is the next ticker DD stock that I want to put out a video on. And the EV plays really aren't really interesting right now. So Intel is bubbling up to the top of the list, where I do a full walkthrough with you guys, doing a basic SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, threats, after I finish going through whatever issues they're struggling with right now. the past couple quarters, the past couple earnings calls, future guidance, yada, yada, yada. That just takes a while. And then it takes a while to put all those thoughts together in a coherent way to get it on a video that's not an hour long. Carl says AMD puts paid today. Did AMD drop too? Let me put it up on my screen here. AMD.
I don't know. I haven't looked at that either.
Down 4%. I have some AMD also around 130. So I bought a little bit back in May at 155. So I'm around even on that. And then I bought a bigger chunk at the beginning of August at 133 on this dip. So I'm green on my AMD, but maybe I'll do an AMD video after I get the Intel one out. Again, this is a long-term play. This is not something that I'm trying to swing trade and planning on exiting in days or weeks. Big A says if NVIDIA crashes, it will take all the chips down. I mean, I can see that. I can see that. I'm not going to try and argue with you. But if NVIDIA were to go down and, like, let's say, go offline, someone's got to pick up the slack. That's kind of what I'm thinking. In the moment, might everything crash? Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with you. But let's say NVIDIA were taken out of commission for the long term. Somebody's got to supply the chips. And I realize there are, product differences between NVIDIA, Intel, and AMD. I get it. Benny says, is WBD done? WBD. Oh, Warner Brothers. Holy smokes. They've been getting wrecked, haven't they? I don't know. That I am not keeping up with what is going on with that stock. $27 down to $7.50. Tough for me to comment because it's not a stock that I follow. Not looking great, but yeah, I'm just not going to comment. Mayflower, take it easy. You taking off? Carl, what were you? Carl is day trading chip stocks. All right. Good night, Mayflower. Sleep tight.
Good night.
Let's see what else we got going on here. Oh, I was gonna, let me just finish my thought because I think we got sidetracked. I was talking about the low volume on AMC Mediocre.
Yeah.
Here's the leading theories. Are you guys seeing these out there on social media? People are saying the low volume is a spring being wound up and we're gonna rock it because that low volume is telling you that the spring is being loaded. And I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. For me, low volume just says nobody's interested in trading it. They're trading somewhere else. The
That's part of
money's not,
Wyckoff theory.
huh?
So that's part of Wyckoff theory.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Maybe I need to read one of those Wyckoff books, Mediocre. I
Yeah.
mean, those guys haven't generally been right. The Wyckoff people on AMC over the last several years. So maybe that's why I never read a Wyckoff book. I mean, I know generally what it is, but I didn't know that the spring loading was part of Wyckoff. What I do think will happen, though, Mediocre, is when, and I talked about this in the Discord the other day, when there's some news for AMC or for the general economy that is actionable news, then the volume will start changing on AMC. And depending on what that news is, either good or bad, then you're going to see the price start moving in a direction. And until that happens, I'm not thinking that anything's going to happen with AMC, but not at least for the next several weeks, because everybody's kind of like in this, I think, hold your breath pattern to see what the box office for Q3 does. If we can pump out 2.5 to 3 billion of domestic box office, then we're pretty sure AMC is going to notch a profitable quarter. As that starts becoming more certain, I think possibly you might start see AMC's price trying to push up a little bit. How does that sound to you, or are you guys in the audience? What do y'all think?
I think that's plausible.
That could be like one of the actionable news things. Like right now, the shorts don't want to short it because the company's got plenty of cash. Box office is looking good.
That's why I don't think there's any volume, Tony.
Huh?
That's why I don't think there's any volume.
Yeah, the shorts aren't shorting it because it's not a good short here. And the longs are being hesitant because we don't know what including myself. Like I bought some at 420, but I'm hesitant to buy it at 5 until a couple more weeks pass and I see what Q3 is going to end up. I do think it's telling me a story that we're going to have a profitable quarter, but I need to see a couple more weeks of box office.
I'm trying to work my position in another player at the moment.
Which one are you messing around in?
I'm still messing around in JetBlue for now.
JetBlue. So how's that working out?
It's working out lovely. I like it.
Oh yeah, Tito, thank you for reminding me. So there were a couple things I was going to talk about with AMC. The spring being loaded was one theory that we see a lot of talk on social media about. The spring is being loaded, which just sounds to me a little bit hocus pocus, but it's cool if I'm wrong. Maybe the spring is being loaded. I mean, I got shares at 420. Let that fucking spring take off.
Yeah, baby.
But the other thing that everyone was all hyped up about was the Golden Cross. And let's see how that's worked out.
Ugh.
I mean, the Golden Cross can be a technical signal that could indicate to some algorithms, if they were a strictly TA algorithm, or to day traders or momentum traders to start buying it, but we're just not seeing it, right? We're now under the 200 for 2 days now, at least. Sorry, over the 200. And then there's the debate like we had a week ago, Mediocre. Remember? Do we look at the 200 MA or the 200 EMA? Maybe people are focusing on the wrong indicator.
I mean, if you Google it, it's talking about the MA, but I don't use the MA. I only use exponential, but that's how my trading style.
Yeah, well, you can see I have the MA. That's what I use. So it's good that we use different stuff because we get different perspectives. But I mean, we got 2 days over the 200, and it
See, I'm
hasn't.
with Carl. Carl knows.
Well,
Tell him, Carl.
Carl says EMA is the one. I mean, hey, if nothing's happening for the next week, then I think we can cross the 200 MA off the list, Mediocre, for being a daily cross catalyst for AMC. I just don't think that AMC, if I, again, my TA is layered. I look at the financials. I look at the what's going on with the company, the box office, the dilution, the debt, and then I look at the chart. And
Tony,
I think that is maybe what separates me from a lot of other people that are only looking at the charts.
Tony, don't forget about our secret trading group where we communicate with each other.
I mean, looking at the charts on a normal stock is okay. You can do TA on a normal stock without having to be so concerned. But I think there are other layers of AMC that can't be ignored. And, you know, for the past couple of years, one of those layers was that it was just overvalued relative to the earnings or lack of earnings. And now that we're more at a proper valuation, we still have the dash of dilution risk, the dash of the debt still needed to be worked on, and the dash of, is this going to be a profitable quarter? I think we're maybe only weeks away from seeing some dynamic change in this stock.
Let me tell you what I'm afraid of, Tony.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that Beetlejuice numbers might come out and this thing might try to make a move.
You think that they might be really good and it starts moving up on that?
It might. It's a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to, but I've been thinking that, right?
I've been thinking that too. And I was telling you earlier today, like, as I think about that and every day I see it sitting at this $5 range, I'm like, should I buy some here? Should I buy some here? Every day, should I buy some here? Or should I wait and see if we try and make another little dive down before earnings? I mean, I don't think there's any bad news unless the company says, oh, we're going to issue another 100 million shares. I don't think there's any bad news that takes us below 430 other than that.
Neither.
But can I be patient? I mean, look, we've had 1-2 big dips for no real reason in June. Maybe.
Is it possible that this guy Powell, says something tomorrow and pushes the whole market back down? I don't know. I think people are afraid of that too.
Yeah.
Because they're at Jackson Hole tomorrow. He's going to speak from Jackson Hole, so I don't really know. That's the other thing. The overall market could play a role in this,
Yep. Ace says AMC is the next Bed Bath & Beyond. They don't make money. All he does is steal shareholders' money. If it runs, he will dilute. Well, let's do those in reverse, Ace. If it runs, he will dilute. Yes. Don't you agree, Mediocre?
I think, yeah, of course he will. He'll get rid of, but he's only got 100 million shares left.
Right.
What are you worried about?
I want you guys, if you wonder why am I saying that, go watch my video from a year ago called the CEO Handbook. It's how we knew that Adam was going to dilute. It's how we knew that Ryan Cohen was going to dilute. It's how we know all these money-losing companies are going to dilute. They're losing money, and if you have a run, they're going to dilute. They don't hate you. They're not trying to be evil. They're not trying to punish you. They're not trying to help the shorts. They're trying to fix their balance sheets. You guys got to get off this whole conspiracy and hating CEOs thing.
You got to expect that to happen, right?
Yeah, you're upset because you're not looking at the balance sheet. You're not looking at the cash flow statement. This is all very predictable stuff if you understand accounting and finance.
And if you expect it to happen, right, you could protect yourself against it.
If you expect it to happen, then you know if it runs, take a fucking exit because
Exactly.
they're going to dilute and it's going to come back down. That's why I sold my GameStop at 60 a couple months ago.
But Tony, you might miss the MOAS.
I mean, guys, this is not hard stuff. The CEOs are doing their job. And once you understand what their job is, and the only way you're going to understand their job in a broken company like AMC is look at the balance sheet, look at the income statement, look at the cash flow statement. You know they're going to dilute. That's doing their job. They got to pay off the debt, and they got to make sure they have enough liquidity, enough cash on the balance sheet to weather the storm until they get to profitable quarters. Now, so yes, if it runs, he will dilute. No argument. That's been the whole past 3 years that we've been living through. And it happens in every ticker. Just expect it.
Right.
Reading backwards on Ace, he says they don't make any money. All he does is steal shareholders' money. I mean, no one's forcing you to stay in a money losing stock, Ace. So no one's stealing your money. You're being stubborn and staying in a play that you know the company is losing money. And there's only two or three things that happen when you long-term hold a company that's losing money. They take on more debt, they sell shares, or they file bankruptcy, or they eventually get profitable. 4 things. If you choose to stay in that stock knowing those first 3 things, that's not the executive stealing your money. That's you ignoring the financial situation. That's why I don't get upset about this stuff. People think that I love Adam Aaron or I love Ryan Cohen. They're diluting. No,
Put
I
up
don't
big
love
A's
it.
next
I don't
time.
love it, but they're preventing bankruptcy in AMC's case. And GameStop has a failing core business. So they need cash to try and transform the business. I mean, this is just normal, everyday stuff. Again,
Tony,
totally expected.
put up Big Ace's next comment. I think
Let me
interesting.
just finish Big Ace first sentence. AMC is the next BBBY. BBBY had a massive inventory problem, right? You understand that. That's fair.
Right. We did. I don't think that's the other part, Tony. Is I
They
think
had falling revenues,
right. But let's go
and
back to the inventory first.
they did the coup de grace, the killing blow to investors with death spiral financing. And people, even though I called it out at the time, people said this is bullish or they're not really going to dilute. People in denial. I could read the filing and tell it was death spiral financing
Okay, but
long before it happened.
Tony, let's go back to the inventory real quick, okay?
Yeah.
Because you make a good valid point there, and the reason why I want to go back there is because inventory costs the company money. Now I got a question for you, Tony. Answer this question for everybody. What inventory does AMC have?
I mean, they have a little bit of inventory with food and paper products, cups, popcorn buckets.
Is it nearly what Bed Bath and
No,
Beyond
because AMC turns their inventory weekly.
exactly?
Bed Bath & Beyond's got stores and warehouses full of inventory that may or may not be selling. And then
The point
they had,
I'm trying to make, though, Tony, is when you're not cash flowing as a business owner, I'm going to tell you, when you're not cash flowing, you cannot keep purchasing inventory to sell. So you're
they
cash
started
flowing
running into problems with their
right,
suppliers.
exactly. There's
So
a
no,
major difference between BBBY and AMC.
and AMC's revenue is growing. Bed Bath & Beyond's was falling. This is basic stuff. They're not even remotely related. There's only 2 reasons I'm in AMC and GameStop and not all the other shitcos out there like BBBY and Mullen. It has revenue and it has growing revenue. there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's still a risky play, but I feel there's about a 85-90% chance that this could be a profitable quarter, and probably many more after this. So we'll just have to see. I can't say that with certainty yet because we're still too early in Q3, but I can model exactly how much box office is needed for them to make a profit, and we're on track.
So Tony, his next comment was this. Just so I don't want to.
Yeah, I'll pull it up. Hang on.
I don't want to. I want to finish this comment with him because it's interesting because he's correct.
The debt.
Yeah, he's correct. There is $8 billion in debt, right?
No, that's not correct. There's liabilities.
Right. Was it $4 billion of liabilities, $4 billion of debt, or something like that?
Yeah. Let me pull it up here, because this is a good question. I hear people misstate it, especially on GameStop channels where they want to drive a narrative, a false narrative. They want to drive a false narrative because they want you to buy GameStop, which is fine. I mean, I'm not trying to convince anybody to buy AMC, but I think that, you should at least be honest in your reporting. It is fair to say that AMC has a lot of liabilities on the balance sheet. Let me pull it up.
But I also want to make a point. The reason why I want to have this conversation is because it's a good conversation to have about the debt, right? The whole reason for the debt restructuring was to push the debt out until profitability. When they're profitable, they can pay the debt down with their profits. Now, shareholders may not get a dividend like we would like, right? Because let's be honest, I've wanted a dividend, and it's just not going to happen. And I asked Adam Aaron that question to his face, and it's not going to happen. So until the debt's gone, right? But profitability allows them to service their debt. That's all I'm trying to say. So the debt is not an issue. As long as you can service the debt and pay the debt, there's no issue there. It's good for companies to have debt. I know you might not want to hear that, but that's the truth. As long as they can pay and service the debt, there's no issue.
All right. Total liabilities for AMC, $10.2 billion. Long-term liabilities include $4.2 billion in corporate borrowings. This is the debt. $4.2 billion. Let me get rid of these other. The other big chunk of it is lease liabilities.
Yep.
And I don't consider that debt. Hang on, sorry. I highlighted the wrong thing here. 4.2 billion. Operating lease liabilities. $3.7 billion. All right. What are those? Accounting rules that changed in 2016, I believe, or maybe it was 2018. I've got a spreadsheet for this, Mediocre.
I know you do.
I've published this graph several times on Twitter. Whatever year it was, 2016 or 2018, I think it was 2018. ASC, I forgot the number. Anyways, there was an accounting rule change for all U.S. corporations where they were required to take the next 5 years of lease obligations and put them on the balance sheet. So prior to that, I think it was ASC 842. Prior to that, these lease obligations were not on there. If you go back and look at AMC's historical liabilities, you could see where they bought the competitors and liabilities went up, and then a few months went by, and then the liabilities went up again, and everyone said, oh, Adam Aaron double fucked us. That was an accounting rule change, that second jump. And even GameStop, any company that has leases had the same thing happen to their balance sheet. You got to pay your leases. You got to pay your leases. It's not debt that the company borrowed. They just have to put them on the balance sheet now to give shareholders a more realistic view of what the company's obligations are. Because I guess the argument was made back in that day, not specific to AMC, but just to U.S. corporations, that a lot of obligations that companies had weren't properly reflected on the balance sheet.
I mean, I'm glad it's on there, aren't you?
Not when people lie about it.
Well, I agree that they're being disingenuous, Tony. But you know, when you look, what you know what you're looking at, right? I mean, it's understandable. You know, it's like I'll use GameStop for an example. They don't own, the majority of their buildings. They're leased. They're in strip malls all over the place, right?
I
So
think they have a headquarter and a warehouse that they own, but yeah, most of them are small
right,
lease locations.
right. And so if that location isn't profitable and they're having lease trouble because now that that store is not profitable, so its lease is being paid through headquarters, right? That's how it works. And then they're going to end up closing that location. Whatever they may be obligated to pay a certain amount of on the lease, right? Because they're probably locked into some sort of a contract. Most leases are a contract that says you have to, if it's a 3-year lease, you have to do a 3-year term. You owe for 3 years, whether you're there or not there. So,
Yeah, here's the same thing on GameStop's balance sheet, but the number is a lot less because the square footage is a lot less.
the only point I'm trying to make though is I'm glad it's on there for a specific reason. You know what they're paying out every month with their leases and liabilities, and
The other thing you can see, Mediocre, is are they improving that expense over time? Look at this. Last year, it was $4 billion, and because they're strategically closing underperforming locations, they shaved off $225 million over the last 12 months.
exactly.
And they've been doing that since 2019, shaving it off. And Tech, we love. I saw your comment there. And Stock Retail does point this out, and I've pointed it out too, as the lease obligations get reduced, because Adam has told us that they will continue to close underperforming locations, especially if we're in some time period where box office isn't big enough to support locations. Then it makes sense to close some down if they're not contributing positively to the income statement. So that lease obligation will go down. And if in the future interest rates go down or more debt gets paid off, the corporate borrowings on the portion of that is interest on the income statement, that will go down. And so, yes, the story that people are telling, that AMC can be profitable on lower box office than 2019, that is absolutely correct, because they have been improving a lot of these things, and while they're cutting those costs, they're improving the things like food and beverage and merch. It's small incremental improvements. I get it. But when you got one number going down and the other one going up, it doesn't take as much to tip the scale. You don't need to get back to 2019 box office. That is, I think, a very fair assessment. And that's why I have my spreadsheet tracker that can forecast that stuff.
Tony's got a spreadsheet for everything, you guys. I'll tell you that much. I know that for a fact.
Six Sun said, did AMC break any support today? No. The support for AMC, Six Sun, is down around $4.30, and on the really low side, $4.10. So we're just we've been trading in a range since May, and I'm okay with that range. We're going to need some news to make it move up or down out of that range. Could be AMC news, could be industry box office news, it could be economic news, but something's going to need to happen, and that could happen soon in the coming weeks, or we could be trading here for a while. I don't really care, because I don't need a MOAS tomorrow. You know what I mean? Buy low, buy at a point where you're not obsessing, and then just be patient. I think the biggest problem people have is, and I see this in the GameStop community a lot. They're buying every day, and all their, when you're buying as it's going up and then it starts coming back down, you just broke your cost average, because you don't want to be buying when it's going up, unless if it's a rocket attached to it. Yeah, I might jump on that, but I'd rather wait for a reasonable pullback and then just have a nice relaxed entry. I don't got to worry. You don't got to stress. Anyways, Ace, let me see. He's got some more comments here. Thank you for the comments, Ace. Every time Adam didn't diluted, he didn't pay down the debt. I mean, they've paid off a lot of the debt, Ace, so that's not a factual statement. Do you want me to bring up the quarterly debt? I mean, you can do it. I know you're not correct. They have paid off debt.
Tony, I actually like when people have comment like this, because it gives us a chance to actually,
I mean,
people
repeat talking points that they're pushed by Adam Aaron haters and the Popcorn Project gang, people that I know for a fact don't look at the financial statements. And when they publish all of their toxicity, and they've never opened a financial statement, even if they did, they don't understand it. And I can shoot down what they say in about 2 seconds with an actual financial statement. That is not correct. That $1 billion of debt has been paid off, at least since I've been in this play. So that is not correct. But the other reason that they're raising money is because they have what, Mediocre, every quarter. Why do they need to keep injecting cash into the business?
Because they don't have positive revenue at the moment.
Right. They don't have positive earnings, guys. What do you want them to do? If they're losing 100, 200, 250 million in a quarter, and they have $1 billion in cash, how many quarters is it going to take before the lenders foreclose on them? Of course, they're going to raise money.
Right. Do you want?
And they're not going to pay off debt with it.
Do you want them to go to the big B word? I mean, I don't. Right.
It's called managing your working capital. Mediocre, talk as a business owner. Talk to them for a second about working capital. While I pull up the working capital, let's look at how bad it is for AMC.
It's quite simple. You have inflows and outflows, and if you're ain't got no inflows coming in, then you can't pay nothing on the outflows. That's just cash flow. You need inflows and outflows. You gotta have it. If you're not, whatever your business is, if you're not selling enough goods, right, and making a profit on those goods, or it's taking you too long to sell those goods, right, all those things hurt you negatively. Unless you're selling them. But if you're sitting on the inventory, it's costing you money, right? You need to be bringing stuff in and moving stuff out, and that's the same thing with the money. The money needs to come in and move out. That's just the name of the game. You got to pay the bills, whatever it's got to be, with your outflows, and you got to make sure the money keeps coming in.
I think part of the other problem, Mediocre, I don't know why this page is taking so long to load. A lot of us, when AMC was at 40 or 50 bucks, and they announced that they were going to reverse split and convert and sell more shares, and we were kind of like fantasizing, oh, they could potentially raise $4 or $5 billion. The market rug pulled them, And so that little dream went out the window. And they have had to do some dilution still, but that's to manage the liquidity on the balance sheet, the working capital, make sure they have enough cash to offset any losses that are happening while we're waiting for box office to grow.
Working capital, right? That's
Yep.
how much money a company has in their bank account to keep the company afloat, right?
Now, I want you guys to look at this. In 2019, working capital for the company was negative $1.2 billion. And let me go to quarterly. God dang, why is my internet slow? Quarterly, here we go. $0.2 billion negative working capital in 2019. We're down to 575 million. And May told me that we should, from working capital, we should then subtract deferred revenue, which is basically gift cards and things like that. Where is that? That's a current liability, I think. Unearned revenue. So that's 400 million. You can see that is consistent. This is like things that people have prepaid for, any reservations you've made, any gift cards that have been bought that haven't been used. They dump it as an obligation into a current unearned revenue liability account. When you use that service or that ticket or that gift card, then it comes out of here. But I mean, it's very consistently around 400 million bucks. If we subtract that, because that's cash, but it's counting on the liability side, so it is affecting working capital. If we subtract that, AMC's working capital is now only negative $175 million. That's almost manageable.
That's the whole goal, right? Once it's manageable, and you know, even if you're break even, right? You're not paying out. You're not attacking shareholders for money, right? The companies to stay afloat. I'd like to be a little more profitable than that, so we could pay something down on the debt since we kicked the can down the road, right? Like that's ultimately what happened. We kicked the can down the road until 2029. In 2029, whatever happens, they're probably going to renegotiate. You know, they'll pay, a portion of it, kick the can down the road again. That's business.
And here, look at this number in pink right here, Mediocre. March 2023. Read out what the working capital was to the folks.
Negative 971 billion.
Negative 971 million.
Million? That's not
Yep.
a B.
It's 971.8. Now, what was
Okay.
happening in March of 2023? What was happening in March of 2023? We were talking about the APE, the upcoming APE AMC conversion, right? That finished in August of 2023 with Judge Zern's decision, and then the company was able to raise money. And you can see the improvement after that in working capital. But I was pounding the table back then saying these no voters are just ignoring stuff like this. Like, how can you ignore negative $1 billion in working capital? How can you say this company doesn't need to raise money? If you say that and they say it, they're still saying it today. This company had no problems. They didn't need to raise that money. You're telling me that you didn't look at the balance sheet or that you don't understand it. Now, someone, A, said the company's not paid down any debt. I mean, I'm not even going to scroll all the way over to the right, but it's worse if I go further to the right. But here we have 10.1 billion in 2022. The over 1 billion has been paid off just in the last not even 2 years.
Sean Goodman has been working his tail off.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got to you can't fall trap to the false narratives that people are pushing because they're upset about what happened. I get it. People are upset, but
Right.
they're lying willfully or out of ignorance. They just don't know any better because
I
they're not
wanted the short squeeze too,
financial.
you guys. And I know Tony did too. We wanted that short squeeze, believe me.
Oh, 8.6 billion is actually where we're at. So yeah, over 10 billion, 1.4 billion in total debt has been reduced between leases and debt payments, debt due. So to say that the management is not working to improve the situation is just a false statement. It's a false statement.
It's obviously that they are, Tony, because if they weren't, Tony, we wouldn't even freaking be here. The company would be bankrupt right now.
Yep.
That's the truth. That I don't understand it.
A says, when was the last time AMC was profitable? I mean, how are you in this play and you don't know that answer?
It was before 2019.
No, I mean, on a quarterly basis, we've had profitable
Well,
quarters recently, Mediocre.
yeah, profitable quarters, but I meant
Is he
year over
talking
year.
about profitable year or profitable quarter?
I don't know.
Here was September 2023, profitable. June 2023, profitable. If we go to an annual basis, yeah, it's further back. But again, these are things you need to look at before you invest in a company. To come to me now or to Adam Aaron and say, I'm mad that I lost money. I'm Ace. Are you involved? Are you involved in the play? Did you lose money? Are you holding shares? Or are you just here because you like GameStop and you want to try and throw rocks at AMC? The point I'm trying to say is if you are invested in the company and you didn't know they were losing money, then you weren't paying attention, and you should have. Everyone knew this was a speculative short squeeze play on a non-profitable company. I think we all knew that in 2021, 2022.
Yep.
I heard Trey and Matt say a million times, don't invest money that you can't afford to lose. A lot of people ignored that.
Yes,
I
they
wasn't
did.
here then. I wasn't here on YouTube in May and June. So I can't help you with if you bought $400,000 worth of AMC in May or June and didn't sell it in a squeeze when it ran up to 72. I can't help you with that. But you must learn from any mistakes and learn if you're going to speculate in tricky plays, non-profitable companies, non-revenue companies like a Mullen or BBIG, all these other ones that people like to fuck around with. You better pay attention to this stuff, because if you end up getting stuck holding it, like the four things that we said are going to happen, one or more of those will happen to you. Company's going to sock you with more debt. They're going to dilute. They're going to file bankruptcy. Or if you're lucky, they'll eventually get profitable. You could be hurt by 1 and 2 before they get profitable. So you need to look at this stuff before you decide how much of your life savings you want to throw at a speculative play. So profitable year. Let's see if we can. 2018 was the last profitable year.
I knew that. Want to know how I knew that, Tony?
Probably because you looked at the financial statements before you got involved.
2019 was the start of the roll-up strategy.
The roll-up started
Look
in
it up.
2016, Mediocre.
Was it?
Yeah, we can tell that by looking at the balance sheet and the liabilities, long-term debt. You can see right here.
I thought it was 2019. I could
See
be
where
wrong.
it jumped right here. 2015, it was 1.9 billion. and then it jumped to 3.7, and then to 4.2, and then to 4.7. These were
Yeah, you're right. It was before because they were in 2019. That's why they were in debt because they had theaters that were underperforming.
yeah.
You're right. It was earlier than that.
And so they added the debt, and then the look at the leases, Mediocre, that ASC 842. Long-term leases went from 493 million to 5 billion.
Put it on the screen for everybody.
Oh, sorry, I thought I had it on the screen.
No, you didn't.
This right here. This wasn't Adam adding a bunch of new theaters right here. This was an accounting change required for all US corporations. So it looks like AMC's liabilities ballooned, but they were there all along. They were there prior to this 5 billion, is what I'm saying.
Look, I'm not defending AMC. I'm just saying, like, the conversation is if you're gonna have comments, right? You should somewhat know what you're talking about at the very least. I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just saying, or if you don't know, that's a good. Anything you say is a good learning experience, right, for the people who may not know, and that's
Ace says he didn't mean that he didn't pay down debt. It came from shareholders. That is true. That is true. And that's
yeah.
going to happen to just about any company that is losing money. They're going to either go to the debt market and raise debt if they can. For a lot of them, like a Mullen or AMC, it's not an option.
What's their favorite term, Tony?
Tap the equity markets.
That's it.
When you hear him say tap the equity markets, that means he's going to be tapping your wallet if you
That's
choose
what
to
it means.
participate. I mean, let's be real. Companies are public because they might from time to time need to raise money, and you're their piggy bank. If you don't like that, don't invest in non-profitable companies. This is very easy. It's a binary choice. If you don't like being diluted, fucking do not buy companies that have a negative on the net income.
Guys,
You won't ever have to worry about it.
I was reading the court documents, okay, and I came across where Adam Aaron was telling the judge, not necessarily Adam Aaron, the lawyers for AMC, whoever was running the lawsuit, basically the board, they sent a letter to the judge saying that the equity markets were going to dry up. They usually dry up this time of year. That they needed to hurry up and tap the equity markets, meaning that they needed the money or they were going to go bankrupt. That is what they relayed to the judge and why the judge had to, in my opinion, go through with the whole lawsuit.
Well, that plus there was no illegality.
Right. Well, that.
I mean, I know that's a hotly contested statement. There are people that are convinced it was illegal, but lawyers signed off on it. The NASDAQ signed off on it. Delaware signed off on it. And the court of Delaware signed off it. I think it's stacking up that it was not illegal.
I think that people needed to read the documents, and I don't think that they were interested in the documents.
They weren't interested in the documents. They were interested in shouting down the documents and shouting up the short squeeze. And that's willful ignorance, that you purposely didn't want to read what the documents said, and you hoped that the documents weren't true. And but these companies are going to get their way, or they're going to file bankruptcy.
I didn't want to end up divorced from my wife, Tony, so there was no way I could lose all my money. You know what I'm saying? I had to read the documents.
And look what happened to MMAT. MMAT wanted to reverse split so they could dilute and raise more money to avoid bankruptcy, and shareholders voted against that corporate action, and then a couple months later bankrupt.
Yeah.
That would have been AMC, I promise you. If they would not have had a year ago the ability to raise more money, they would either run out of cash or the lenders would have foreclosed on the company.
Could you imagine losing your wife because you made terrible investments in the stock market? I mean, I'm not interested in doing that.
That doesn't happen to people, Mediocre.
I hope not.
Getting kicked out of your house because you bought a company that I'm not going to go there. Were you talking about somebody in particular, or are you just talking in general?
No, I'm just talking just to talk. Like, I would never put myself in a situation like that, Tony. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to read the fucking documents is what I'm saying.
Carl says it cracks me up that folks say AA wants bankruptcy. There's a lot of conspiracy stinking thinking out there, Carl. And they've argued with me. These guys, they don't understand what fiduciary duty is. They hear fiduciary duty and they think the CEO and the board's fiduciary duty is to deliver me a short squeeze. Well, guess what, kids? You are incorrect. And if that is your theory, you're going to lose money for the rest of your life in the stock market. Fiduciary duty to stakeholders, including the bondholders and shareholders, is to avoid bankruptcy. And the bondholders have a higher position in the hierarchy than you do. They certainly don't want bankruptcy. And so they're going to be encouraging the company to tap that equity market.
Exactly.
Which means we pay the price as common shareholders.
Dilute your shareholder.
If you don't like that, don't buy non-profitable companies or buy bonds. I'm not a bondholder. I don't buy bonds, but there was a lot of money to be made on AMC bonds if in the past couple of years, if you thought that the company wasn't going bankrupt. They were trading at 30 cents on the dollar. Now they've almost fully recovered because the bankruptcy risk is almost entirely gone. So bondholders, including, we could have bought those bonds, Mediocre, right? They're publicly traded, a lot of them. You could have bought publicly traded bonds for 30 cents on the dollar and made almost an additional 65 cents. But people have this superstition about bonds. They're against us. You would have not been diluted.
Yeah.
But people don't want to learn about other ways to invest. They just want to buy stock.
I love learning. I love learning, you guys.
I hope y'all want to learn. I mean, I'm trying to learn everything I can about bonds because, man, I wish I would have understood them as good as I do now a couple of years ago. Bondholders don't get diluted, only us. All we can do is take it or get the fuck out of the way.
Yep.
And, for the last year, my strategy has been get out of the way. And that pisses people off, and I'm sorry. But I endured some of the dilution, and then I said to myself, this is stupid. I understand the company needs to raise money. They've clearly communicated they need to raise money. I can look at the financial statements and see that they need to raise money, but I don't need to sit here and take it. I could just step out for a couple weeks.
I'll tell you guys, I took
and then step back in, and so that's what I've been doing.
After conversion reverse split, I took a dilution, knowingly took a dilution. When I promised myself, I was going to exit, but I didn't. But that won't happen again. I'll tell you right now. No way. No.
Dan says, thanks for the tip, Mediocre. I had to get rid of your wife.
There you go, Dan. Listen,
Tech We Love says bonds are harder to find. They are hard to find. I'll grant you that. That is a fact. But if you guys ever need to look one up, let me know, and I'll send you the QSIP. If you have the QSIP I could send you a whole list by company of bond QSIPs that you could trade. I'm happy to do that as long as thousands of people aren't asking me that every day. And I'm not a bond trader, but I can get those for you. But the other thing about bonds is you got to buy them typically in $1,000 chunks, and sometimes there's minimum buy requirements. You might have to buy 2, might have to buy 5. It's not as liquid as stocks. You go onto your fixed income screen on your broker, you enter the QSIP, and you see what the bid and the ask are, and it'll tell you what the minimum quantity that are available to trade right there on your screen. So yeah, I mean, it's like learning a new language.
The whole stock market is. It's like a secret language, Tony. And I think that it's hard for people to understand.
Yep.
I mean, you have to be willing to learn it. I think.
You have to be willing to learn, and part of my learning, like on the bond stuff, like I said, for the last 30 years of my trading, bonds weren't really interesting to me because they got a fixed yield, and I like to try and beat the market mediocre. I'm not trying to earn 5% or 7% or 10, whatever they pay, depending on the bond.
Can I?
But we've had to become educated on them because when you're in a speculative play like AMC, the bond market and the bond prices will tell you what the real perceived risk is. You can think all you want that the company's not going bankrupt, but when your bonds are trading at 30 cents on the dollar, a lot of smart people are disagreeing. And as those people realized they were wrong, the bond prices started coming back up.
So
And
Tony, can I ask you a question?
yeah,
You don't have to answer it or not, but are you? I just gotta know if you're beating the S&P 500.
absolutely.
Same here. Same here.
And how do I do that, mediocre? I'm not out there trying to force a trade every day. I'm being patient. I'm picking my stocks carefully. I'm mostly in blue chips, and I have a list of them that I'm either in or watching. And the ones I'm watching, I'm waiting for a pullback to what I call a safe entry, and then I might wait a year or two or 5. But some of them I only had to wait like 3 months, and they were up 40 or 50%.
I mean, we have this conversation every day in the Discord for the most part. Well, not every day, but we talk about who's beating the S&P and this, that, and the other thing, and you know what's the percentage the S&P will get you a year. We talk about that stuff, and I think it's interesting that the majority of the people that talk to us on a daily basis, Tony, that they are beating the S&P. You know,
I think the biggest problem, that I'd like to help people recognize, and this is not a popular statement, is you can't be betting your portfolio on trying to make $1 million the next week.
exactly.
Like I love speculative plays just as much as you guys do. I've been in many of them with you, and am in some of them with you right now, but I'm not betting my entire portfolio on it because of the risk is really high. And I don't have a full-time job. I haven't worked in my corporate life for, gosh, 20 years now. I forget how long it's been. I might take more risk if I was pulling in 100 or 150,000. But I got to live within my means, and more importantly, not decimate my trading portfolio.
Right, because you live long.
I'm not no spring chicken anymore, mediocre.
I know.
I gotta manage my risk. So I go for the speculative plays when the setup is good. Have try and get a good entry, and always take an exit. Even if I leave a little money on the table, that's okay.
That's the thing is, and I'm trying to make it to a point where I could live off my portfolio. Right. That's my goal. Not that I don't want to work, right? But if I want to, go somewhere or take the time off or whatever, you know, turn my business over to my kids or whatever it is. You know what I mean? I don't know. And I want to just live off of my portfolio. That's ultimately what I'm working for.
My
So,
wife always says, "You act like we're poor. I know you got a lot of money in your trading account." And I was like, "Yeah, well, whatever money we have coming in from the businesses, that's what we live off of. The trading
Right.
account, honey, you don't worry about what's in there. That's we don't tap into that to pay
Right.
expenses. That's there for everybody's future.
So that's what that's kind of where I'm at. I just whatever. But if I ever wanted to just go and live off of that and be done, I could if I wanted to. I'm pretty much at that point. We have a few people in our Discord who actually do that. I'm not going to mention any names, but it's we got a bunch of smart people. I think I'm very happy with what we got. I like bouncing information off of people.
Crismo says 500 a week might not be a bad goal. I've had periods, Crismo, where I was, doing a lot of day trading, 2021 especially. And I would sit down here every day with a goal just like that. And I am not feeling as comfortable about the market right now.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I guess, if I sat down here and looked for the and I do. I mean, I do come here in the morning sometime and I'm like, all right, what's running this morning? Is there anything I can play? And a lot of them are already played out by the time my big brokerage account opens. Maybe I could move more money into Webull so I could start trading at 4:00 in the morning, but my broker doesn't let me start trading till 6 or 7.
That's what I
And
don't like about Webull. They get to jump on you in the pre-market.
by the time by the time those plays are running, by the time I could trade them, they've already run so much that now I'm like,
Yeah, I can't do it.
I'm not excited about jumping in anymore. The move
Yeah,
already happened. The risk has been increased. And I've watched a lot of YouTubers try and do day trading YouTube channels playing the hot play of the day, and they end up all blowing up their accounts because they don't see the risk of something running, and they'll just keep buying it, and then they'll hold it overnight, and then it'll tank the second half of the day, or it'll tank in after hours. That would just eat me alive. Fucking hate that shit.
yeah. I don't really chase. I figured that out. It's not worth it. I could do the same thing with the S&P 500. You know what I mean? The S&P starts moving, I just jump in, exit. I'm happy.
Yeah,
I
I
could
mean,
trade
I
3 times
do
a
that
week.
every now and then, mediocre. If I feel like some weeks you just feel it. Like I'll
Right.
buy options on an index for a day,
Right.
or on Tesla. Something that's
Uh,
relatively risky because you don't ever know what's going to happen.
exactly.
But sometimes you can feel it, and sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm not. If I was right 90% of the time, I'd be doing it every day.
Exactly.
A lot of times it's just like I've said this before. It's almost like legalized gambling. I don't think there's too many people that are consistently 4 days out of the week making
Well,
correct bets on the indexes time after time after time. It's just tough to do.
that's the thing. I mean, depending on your account value, we've had this conversation about PDT, right? Like I have plenty of money in my both my accounts, but I don't I don't want to have that account labeled PDT. Now, maybe if it was a couple hundred grand, I wouldn't give a shit, right? But you know, me, I can't sit here all day. I actually work, so if I was in something and it went south on me, I don't want to be stuck under 25 grand and not be able to trade. You know what I mean? Because of PDT. So I don't ever put my account in that position.
Carl
I think
says he's been trading options since 2011, learning curve part time from the late 90s. I heard someone, uh, Carl, say recently, and I think basically what the statement was is that everyone learns how to trade options by blowing up their first account. Do you guys think that sounds accurate?
I mean, I never actually blew up an account, but I also am very like I'm interested in learning. So when I first started to learn options, I paper traded a lot on options. You know what I
I
mean?
I I did have an option trade in the last week. I don't do them every day. I wait for good setups or something that I have a good feeling about. But I think around August 9th or so, I bought $30 strikes on Chewy for August 16th, which were really cheap because there was only a couple days left to expiration. And then I bought August 30th, $30 strikes. And then Chewy ran all the way over 27 bucks a couple days later. My August 16th expired worthless, the cheap ones. But the August 30th ones, mediocre, I sold those when it ran up over 27. I booked 121% gain on those, which more than made up for the cheap ones that I had that expired. And, you know,
That's what I like about options. If you're going to buy them, they're cheap, right? So if you have a good trading idea that has some sort of catalyst news, you know some sort of fundamental play, earnings, whatever, you know some sort of catalyst where it could move. I mean, you could do pretty good with options buying them, right? But I don't usually buy too many options because I'm doing this other strategy. I'm doing the wheel strategy, obviously, and I'm just trying to slowly bring the account value up.
the
You know,
wheel's been tough on AMC lately because premiums have sucked. There's
that's
like
why
there's no volatility.
that's why I went to JetBlue because of what happened with
I have
JetBlue. I
shares of
don't.
AMC. I'm not even selling call options on them. Like I'm gonna what sell calls to make $3?
Yeah,
No, that's I got to make more than that to take the risk of having my shares called away. You know what I mean?
yeah, or locked up. Yeah, you're in calls because you're at 420, right, or 430, something like that.
I'm in it. My basis on AMC is 420, so
Yeah,
I could sell like 550 calls. But what if it runs to $6? And I made $3 per contract on my 550 calls. Like
yeah,
that
you're in that.
trade off for me is not worth it. If I
Yeah,
was making $10 or $12 per contract, then it's a little more interesting.
yeah,
$20 a contract. I mean, we got to get that IV back up.
yeah. People got to start buying.
And the same reason I haven't been on AMC selling any puts. It's just I'd be tying up my money for literal pennies, mediocre.
Yeah, for a week. I
I'd
know.
rather keep that cash available for another trade like you did with JetBlue.
But I did it with JetBlue because it took that big hit because they ended up, that was a form of dilution, right? And so I'm like, well, it's way down here at $4.50. I gotta take advantage of that. And I charted it out, looked at it real quick. I was correct in my thinking, right? But you know, it's stuck right now between 450 and $5. So what's going to happen? I don't know. I mean, it could fall back to 450, but it took a pretty good bounce at 450, which makes me happy. You know, so I'm just selling $5 calls, waiting to see what happens on it.
Sparky says he sold covered 30s. Yeah, I probably bought them from you, Sparky, at 109. No, I didn't pay that much. But yeah, that's a nice sell. Let them have my shares, he says. Yeah, if you can get $1.09 on those contracts and sell your shares for $30, what's your basis on Chewy? I'm gonna guess around 22, 23.
That's a good gain right there.
Yep. Solid. That's solid. 26, he said. Is it 26.33? How you feeling about it over the past 3 days, Sparky, now that it's been coming back down? I guess I was lucky. Let me put up the chart. I sold mine. Stop screen sharing ad. I sold mine right on this tall wick 4 days ago on the 19th. And that was just, I mean, I posted it, I tweeted it when I sold them. I said, with my luck, it'll run to 30 or 35, but I actually had pretty good timing. For the moment, I timed the top. I don't always get that lucky, but I did in that case.
I feel like I haven't been lucky in a couple months. I mean, I'm not losing. I'm constantly gaining, but man, I was on a roll for being perfect. It seems like the stock is not moving. Either one of them really. Like the whole market, it has low volatility right now, I think. And JetBlue's got somewhat. I didn't check the volatility in that, so I can't really say. But it isn't moving in price, right? It's kind of stagnant. And when that happens, I mean, I like when it's stagnant because you could just sit there and collect premium. But I'd rather it move up and down, at least in a range, instead of be more flat. Like I don't really like the flat because I can't take advantage as well.
Yep. For those of you that haven't watched any of our wheel strategy videos or my wheel strategy videos, I say we because many of us employ the wheel, and Sparky's doing it too, apparently, on Chewy. He said he's sold for 2 weeks now options on, I'm guessing, $30 strikes at $1 each. So even though his cost basis on the shares was 26, he's effectively lowered his cost basis to $24. And if it runs up to 30, that's an even better profit. So keep on trucking along there, Sparky. I hope it doesn't degrade too much for you. Hard for me to say what's going to happen with Chewy. I don't really understand. I guess it's just, it looks like this range of 23.80 to 28, maybe 20. Yeah, let's just say 28. Hopefully it stays in that range for you. That'd be still a decent play, as long as it stays over 24. Just keep selling those calls. What were you going to say, Mediocre?
I was going to say, so the other day, you already know this, but my ISP sent out a technician to come work on my internet. And so while he was here, he was asking me, like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, he obviously seen what I did for my business, but I started talking to him. Well, I trade in the stock market a little bit, and so he was interested. So I started talking to him. So he started following us. So
oh, nice.
What's up there, internet guru? We'll call him.
Do you remember his name?
I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Let's call him Mike. How you doing, Mike? Welcome.
Yeah, Mike.
Hope you're tuning in, Mike.
But yeah, so he's going to be coming around. We'll see because he's interested.
Yeah, hey. Jackson Hole is tomorrow. Mediocre, you were talking to me about that earlier, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
What are your thoughts?
I think that's why the market's kind of just, everybody's worried what Powell's going to say tomorrow at Jackson Hole. So I don't really know. I mean, if he, we're close to September. He said he's going to try to do rate cuts in September. Maybe he announces tomorrow, or it says that they're going to start talking about maybe doing rate cuts tomorrow. I don't know, but that could slow the market a little bit. No,
we're kind of at an indecision point. Here's the weekly. We're close to that's an all-time high. And on the daily, I mean, I guess maybe tomorrow decides what direction we go from here. It'd be cool to break above, but
I'm comfortable either way.
yeah,
Whatever
I don't
happens.
care. With what I'm holding right now, it doesn't matter to me. Most of mine are long-term plays.
So, but I don't want to see the market go down. But if it does, it does. If it don't, it don't. But it's what it is.
Sparky, what do you think he's going to tell us? Rate cut or no?
I don't know if he'll announce the rate.
Sparky's a bond trader, so I'm assuming he's paying more attention to this than I have been able to this week.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he'll say anything there, really, but he might hint to stuff. You know what I mean? Who knows?
DJ says crypto is pumping. Let's take a quick look at crypto. I haven't looked at it this week.
Let me pull up these others. I'm not logged in.
Bitcoin, I mean, it looks like it's been trading flat this month. Let's look at ETH. What do you like, DJ, for your cryptos?
I should remind me to log into Webull tomorrow, Tony. I gotta see what I got in there. I'm holding something in there, but I don't know what it is.
Sparky says they will cut and say watch for further data. All right.
You think he'll say that tomorrow, Sparky?
You think he'll say that tomorrow or wait for the next Fed meeting?
Fed meeting. Yeah, that's what I think too. But he might hint to it.
Getting tired. When is the next Fed meeting?
I haven't even looked at any economic data.
FOMC meetings. I've got the calendar here. It looks like September 19th and 20th. Oh, wait, no, that's 2023. September 17th and 18th. Not that far away. Sparky says he may hint tomorrow. The bond market has already priced it in. All right. Thank you, Sparky. Carl J says the SPY 600 if there are rate cuts and Trump wins. I don't want to get political, but Mediocre, what do you think about these polls saying that Kamala is ahead?
I think that I wouldn't necessarily believe any of the polls I
mean
see.
The media might lie to us, Mediocre?
Listen, the polls they weren't correct in 2016, were they? What makes you think they're correct now? They weren't correct in 2020, and they ain't correct now. I get pretty sure of that.
Speaking of Trump, let's look at DJT. It has not been doing well. Was this when he got the attempt on his life, July 15th, and it spiked up?
Yeah.
And gosh, man, it's just been in a race down after that based on
trading at.
It had a little bump in the last 2 days, but it's at $22.70 after running to $46, Mediocre. So if you bought on that day, you had more than half your basis wiped out. God
So
damn.
it went up the other day. What day did RFK? I'm pretty sure RFK.
It spiked yesterday.
It did. Okay, yeah. Because RFK said he's backing Trump, right?
That's what I recall seeing. It went up like $3.
Yeah. I figured that would spike it up.
It tried to rally a little more today, but it ended up closing down 6%. I mean, I don't care about DJT. It's an interesting volatility trade on news, but for me, it's just like gambling. You know what I'm saying? The financials on this company are not great. People are trading it based on Trump.
It's because you're a Trump hater, Tony.
No, I'm not. I mean,
I'm sorry, dude.
I've seen people tweet that Mediocre. Tony's a liberal. Like, do you see the gun in the background over my shoulder? I drive a pickup and I've got an AR-15. What do you think I am?
I heard you were a liberal, Tony, on the internet. Oh man,
These girly men like to project, Mediocre.
It's all common sense, Tony, right?
I mean, I don't know how many hints I can give out without making this a political channel. But we don't get into politics here just for the simple fact that, you know, no matter what I say or any guest on the show says, half the audience is going to be pissed off. So the only thing that I care about politics is how does it affect our investments? Either side. If they are doing something that's going to affect us negatively or positively, then I will comment on that. And speaking of that, Mediocre, let me just say that all of the people that think Donald J. Trump getting elected is going to uncover all the manipulation in the market and cause their stock to squeeze, I say, I'd be willing to bet some of y'all money on that if you feel really passionate about that.
But I will say though,
huh?
I will say this though, if Trump does get reelected, the stock market will most likely rally, and the reason why it will rally, Tony, is because he's going to take care of the regulations. That's the reason why.
I think if it rallies, it's going to be because people think he's going to be good for the economy. Is that what you mean? Like regulations that affect business, right? You're not talking about regulations that affect
I'm talking
Citadel.
I'm talking about getting drill.
Yeah. That I agree. There are literally people every day saying Donald Trump is our only hope to have this shitco squeeze. You know, whatever money losing stock they're in, FFIE or Mullen. Once Trump gets elected, Mullen's going to explode because he's gonna come to our rescue and uncover all this market corruption.
I mean, I'm not saying that, Tony. I'm saying he's going to fix regulations to bring business back to America.
Yes, that I agree.
And get, energy costs down and stuff like that. And that in itself is going to, the same thing that happened in 2016, Tony. What he did in 2016, he'll try to replicate, and that's going to help, I think, the overall economy and the stock market. I think the stock market will rally.
Should we stay up all night on election day and cover it, Mediocre, when we get to that day?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do a live stream. I will cover that. That's not being political. That's just covering news.
Yeah. I like it.
This freaking, this place where we're streaming right now, I don't want to say the name because I don't want to trip their algo. But remember when we covered the last news event?
Yeah, I know, that's crazy.
The attempt on his life, and they demonetized me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
for covering a news event.
That's nuts. I don't get it.
So I wonder, if I cover the election, are you going to demonetize that live stream too? These guys, man, I tell you what.
Commie sons of guns. Remember back in the day? I remember when I was a kid, that was a big thing, that, they'd be calling people commies and all that. I never thought, you know, it was a real thing until like, here we are today.
You never thought what was a real thing?
Americans being commies.
Censorship?
Yeah, I mean censorship, all that stuff, all of it, right? Like we're all under the same constitution. Free speech is free speech. I think free speech is, whatever, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're not threatening a crime, it should be pretty much legal.
Tech We Love says, don't put on any media on that night. Yeah, I wouldn't play any Fox or CNN, anything like that. I think it might be safe to put up like the election coverage map from Google. Would you think that would be safe, Mediocre, without any copyright infringement?
I think Newsmax is safe. They're not going to care, Tony. Oh. I'm sorry.
We'll see. I need to look into that before we get there. We got a couple months to figure that out. But I know that I'm going to be up, at least until hopefully they call a winner that night. But I'll be up watching it. May as well hang out with you guys and have a few drinks.
I mean, I wouldn't hold your breath on that.
I'm not.
When was the last time we had an election and won? It took them a month for the last one, Tony.
Oh, Lord. Lordy.
How were they counting these things last time? 1, 2.
We need 10,000 more. Back the truck up.
Oh, man. You're an election denier, Tony. I'm on a roll tonight.
Turn the cameras off. We need to insert the SIM card and update this machine.
Did you hear? See, now we're getting into something else. Did you hear that Georgia found that those voter machines were not accurate? That ended up being true, Tony. It wasn't. I got a question for you, Tony. How come all of these, what do they call them, conspiracy theories, end up becoming conspiracy facts? You ever notice that?
Some of them do, yeah. I'm not a conspiracy theory denier, Mediocre. There are definitely some that are factual.
I was surprised that they put that out on the news, though.
Tech We Love says, Tony, create your own graphic for the U.S. map that you can turn blue or red. I like that idea. I need to, one day before November when I have time, I need to see if there's a tool that I can use to easily do that. And if y'all have some spare time and you want to shoot me over a tweet or something, if you find something before I do, let me know. That'd be cool. Oh, man. So Mediocre, my plans for this weekend, as we're going to wrap this up pretty soon. It's almost midnight my time, almost 1 o'clock your time, 12:30, 1:30. No, 11:30 my time, 12:30 your time. I've got to. We started out talking about the project truck. I'm at the point, Mediocre, where I've replaced everything on the axles. Still got a spongy brake pedal. I don't know if I told you that when we started out the live stream.
Yeah, you told me prior to the live stream.
So I'm thinking that the power booster is okay because I'm not hearing any weird noises. The pedal test works okay. I'm thinking that the master cylinder is bad because I called the previous owner of the truck today and I said, when he gave me that vehicle, he said it has spongy brakes, but the brakes need work. So maybe that's the problem. And he was right? The rotors were trash. The calipers were trash. The brake pads were gone. Everything was gone. Like he probably had not changed them. They were overdue by tens of thousands of miles. So I've replaced all that stuff and I still have a spongy brake pedal. So I think my next plan of attack for this weekend, depending on if I can get the parts here, is replace the master cylinder, which is not a super difficult job. It's been 30 years since I've had to replace a master cylinder, but I've done one before. I did one on the Camaro.
Yeah, they're not too hard.
Yeah, it's not hard, but I think before I do that, I'm going to try bleeding the brakes one more time. But I almost don't know if that is worth it, because what he told me today is that he's had the spongy brake issue for 2 years.
I mean,
2 years.
It could be the booster. Is there a vacuum hose on it?
Yeah, I mean, if the vacuum was bad on the power boost, the brake pedal would be difficult to push.
Okay, all right.
And I have the opposite problem. I can pump the brakes, and if I keep my foot on it, the pedal just slowly fades all the way to the floor. And from what I understand, if your vacuum is bad or the diaphragm is bad inside the power boost, you'll have a difficult time pushing the brakes. And I have the opposite problem. So it's sounding like the master cylinder, and I really don't know, even though bleeding the brakes is only like a 15-minute job.
Ask the old owner if he was ever putting brake fluid in it.
Yeah.
Like how often?
Yeah, I didn't ask him that. That's a good question.
Yeah, because if he wasn't adding, right, then I would say most likely air. But if he's adding, he had a leak, and it could have been the master.
Yeah. Considering how bad a shape some of the calipers were in, it would not surprise me that there was some brake fluid leakage going on.
Really?
I'll ask him that tomorrow. That's a good question. All he told me is I have to put oil in it all the time. I was like, well, when's the last time you changed the oil in the filter? He's like, I didn't really worry about that because I was always having to put oil in it. It's like, oh, Lord.
What's there? I just gotta take this.
Oh, Lord. So that's my fun weekend plan, you guys. Bleed brakes and or replace master cylinder. If any of y'all are mechanics that are watching tonight or on replay,
help a brother out.
Huh?
I said, help a brother out.
Yeah, if you have any suggestions, toss them at me. I am spending some time making sure I know what I'm getting myself into. What I've figured out is that a master cylinder won't cost me more than $100. And a power boost, if I have to replace that, is going to be freaking expensive. So let's hope it's not that. The other possible failure point, Mediocre, could be the ABS module. But
how would that make a spongy pedal, though?
It could be that, but I'm thinking the master cylinder is more. It's number one, it's cheaper and more likely to be the defect. But I don't have any way to test the ABS module myself. I'm just trying to avoid paying somebody to do the work. I don't mind paying mechanics to do stuff I can't do, but if I can swap something myself, that's money kept in my pocket to invest. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, I know what you mean.
You've rebuilt an engine or two yourself, right? Weren't you working on a boat engine?
Yep, I was working on my boat and a couple of my cars. I might be picking up a new car tomorrow, maybe. We'll see. I got my eye on an older car.
When I bought my Camaro, it was a 69 Camaro. It was just the body.
Yeah.
I built the engine over a few weeks and dropped it in. And then I bought a transmission and hooked it up myself. And then I drove it to a muffler shop and had them put the pipes in, driving it.
Yeah.
And then I had one of my buddies paint it.
I got a 2012 Challenger I'm working on, my boat, and I'm about to pick up hopefully this 1986 Mustang convertible 5 liter.
Nice.
If I can get that, if I could get it for a reasonable price, it depends on what the guy wants because I don't overpay. You can keep it. It can sit there and rot. I'll give you the what I think it's worth, and that's it. But
Sam I am says, didn't push down on the brakes after flushing when I started the car. Let me tell you, that e-brake came in handy. Yeah, I bet that was oh shit moment.
You never pumped.
You're coming to a stop sign and like you push the pedal, it goes all the way to the floor. Holy shit. Yeah.
We've all done that once.
Jerry says, check your brake lines. What are you thinking, Jerry? Like for a leak? Because I've been looking out on the driveway and there was some leakage from one of the calipers, the old ones. But I've replaced everything now, not the brake lines, but I'm not seeing on the wheels or under the car or near the master cylinder any leakage, which also is making me wonder, like, shouldn't I see if the master cylinder was bad? Wouldn't I see leakage behind it? I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know the exact answer to that question. Like, or if the seal just broke, if one of the internal parts of the master cylinder is bad, maybe there's no leaks. Maybe it's just not operating correctly. These are the things that I need to check on before I start buying more parts and swapping stuff out. So that's why I'm reaching out to you guys. If you're a master mechanic and you already know the answer, oh yeah, Tony, a master cylinder can internally fail for sure, and you might not see a leak, then that makes me feel better. Maybe I'm on the right track. But yeah, I did inspect all the brake lines under the car once when I first got the vehicle. I need to go under it and get a flashlight and check them all very carefully before I pull any more parts. But since I don't have any leaks that I can see. Carl going all Dukes of Hazzard on us. Hey, what's the puppy's name, Mediocre?
That's Allie.
Allie. Female?
Yeah, my wife's dog, but she's not home. So the dog's at my feet. It's bedtime. So she's wondering where her mama is. So she came to bug me and see what's up.
I got to let my dog out, and the cats are surrounding me like they're hungry or something. I'm surrounded by animals.
When it gets late like this, she'll like hang out by me because my wife ain't here. That's what she does.
Is your wife working?
No. She went out.
Okay. Casino?
Absolutely.
Yeah, baby. I wish I had one within an easy drive of me, Mediocre.
She said, I'll be back in an hour. Okay, honey. She must be doing good. Oh, she's here now. She just walked in.
Matt's looking at a project car. I like project cars, Matt. It's been a while since I've had one.
I got my cut, Tony. I got my cut.
She just got home?
She just got home. Say hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Thank you for giving Mediocre his cut.
Yeah.
Now, Mediocre, don't run out and buy GameStop shares with that. My wife gave me some money and I immediately spent it on GameStop shares. I didn't tell her.
That's funny.
Did you know some people did that, Mediocre? Like their wife would give them money and they'd go buy stock and not tell the wife?
No.
Can you imagine doing that? That's a good way to get divorced.
Like I said, I'm not trying to get divorced. That's why I need to know what's going on with my account.
I know.
I lost all my money.
Smooth operator, what's going on?
She would be happy.
We're about wrapping up, Smooth operator. If you got any last minute questions, now is the time. But thank you for saying hello. Let me just ask a question. I'm assuming we have a couple movie lovers in the chat. I might have asked this a week ago. Are any of y'all planning on seeing The Crow?
I will. That's one of the movies. I like that movie.
$239 Bean says, I've taken apart and seen one of the seals fail in the master cylinder. That makes me feel better. I'm going to keep on doing my DD on YouTube and the internets. Maybe I have a shop that I use that's right up the street. Maybe I'll run up there and talk to them too and just see what they say. I don't really have that kind of relationship with these guys. I always have had good mechanics that I could ask questions to, but some of them are just too far away now from where I live. I wonder if I run up there and talk to them if I was a shop, I wouldn't just give out free advice. Oh, just drop it off, Tony. Drop it off for $150 service fee. We'll check it out and tell you what's wrong with it. That's what I would do if I was them. And I don't blame them. I think last time I used them, my other vehicle had thrown a belt. It's not as easy to change belts these days as the 70s and 80s, Mediocre,
Mm-hmm. Nowadays, remember when they went to the serpentine belt? Now they're adding more belts again. I don't get it.
And I remember why I had to take it to him. When the belt broke, it blew up a pulley too.
Usually the tensioner goes bad on the serp belts. That happens a lot. Or the bearing inside the idler pulley there.
Yep. And my vehicle, it broke down as I was driving it home. I managed to pull it into a liquor store parking lot, which was only about a mile away from the shop, my mechanics. And the next morning I went over and looked at it and I was like, should I try and repair this belt here in this liquor store parking lot or just drive it a mile? Because I could still start the car. Just drive it a mile to the mechanic and let them deal with it. And I opted for drive it to the mechanic.
Yeah, I always do that.
And they fixed it for a very reasonable price. So. Carl says, can't work on a car these days. All computers, not like when we were kids. I know. Plus, as we get older, Carl,
that's why I want that 86 Mustang.
Shit starts getting heavy. These truck tires are like to my waistband. They're heavy as fuck. I'm getting tired of taking truck tires on and off. I need to invest in an impact wrench. I don't have a compressor.
Buy a Milwaukee.
I know. I probably need to buy a good electric impact wrench because, good Lord, man. Imagine when I'm 60, Mediocre. I'm still out there pulling off. I don't even, how much do you think a truck tire weighs?
Those are probably 50, 60 pounds easy.
No, more than that.
Think so?
Fuck yeah. If it's 50, 60 pounds and it's hurting my back, I'm going to be embarrassed.
It's because when you take them off, you fucking hunched over, guy. I'm telling you. Shit, I moved firewood today. Fucking like 3/4 of that shit.
Well, how much do y'all think a tire, a big old 4x4 pickup truck tire weighs with the hub on it? They're saying on the internet tires weigh about 58 pounds and the wheels are 35. So we're talking about 95 pounds, Mediocre.
I was close.
But yeah, you are bent over, which doesn't help, right? I don't have a rack that I'm throwing the fucking tire up on.
Yeah, that shit hurts after time.
Carl says after doing 4 tires, nap time. That's how I've been all week, Carl. Plus it's blazing hot. Blazing hot here.
100 degrees, Tony?
105, Mediocre.
Jesus. Yep.
That's I'm back on the strict keto. I'm gonna start getting back on the gym. I'm like, if I can't fucking work on a car without getting a sore back, that is telling me that I'm not taking care of my physical fitness.
I hear you. I got problems myself.
So I'm gonna make that a new priority. Get back on track. I've been lazy about going to the gym.
Richie Ralph, he was complaining today, man.
Carl, I've been popping the Excedrin, and last night my wife said, "Hey, I got some CBD lotion. Do you want me to put some of that on your back?" Because I've been
Did you try it?
I've been complaining about my lower back for like 3 days, Mediocre. It doesn't hurt just standing or sitting, but anytime I move, get out of the bed, anything, bend over,
You're all cramped up.
Down in the lower back, right at your belt. It was really strained. And I said, yeah, I'll try. You know, she buys all this foo-foo stuff like CBD lotions and, you know, she likes it. But I said, yes, I will try it.
And
Go
did
ahead
it
and
work?
put some on. I woke up almost pain-free this morning.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I like CBD.
I was surprised. I mean, I'm not a big advocate of the product. I don't regularly use it, but like I'd say at least 80% of my pain was gone when I woke up.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I got CBD lotion too. I use it, especially on aches. You know.
that's my experience.
I think CBD is very, very interesting as far as medical type stuff. To be honest, there's definitely something there. It's not just whatever. I don't like. I'm not a marijuana fan, so you know, I'm just not. I never was. Maybe in high school a little bit, but
Sam says put on a lifting belt. That's a good idea, Sam. I do have a lifting belt. I mean, I know how to properly lift, and I don't even typically use a lifting belt when I'm doing deadlifts or squats. but I think it's just because I'm out of shape. And maybe there was just that one time where I wasn't paying attention when I was moving a tire. I don't know. What's he talking about? Still going, Mediocre.
We're talking about you in this live stream. So I said, "You're like the Energizer Bunny."
I'm actually tired, but I haven't talked to you guys in a while, and talking to y'all and hanging out does energize me a little bit. But I'm going to be up at 5 or 6 in the morning, Mediocre. So we need to wrap this up here. I know I said that 30 minutes ago.
That's when our conversation started. Oh man, I'm only
People keep on having good comments. I was trying to wrap it up with the truck talking.
I actually enjoy the conversation, to be honest. I'm only being a smart ass, but
I'm on my second beer. I'm almost halfway done with it. I think I'll be able to get a good night's sleep. MC says, love you guys' content. I learned how to be a better trader through you guys. Thank you for saying that. That is, Mediocre and I talk about that. We know our content is not the get rich $1 million due to billions or trillions of naked shorts. There's other places you can go for that, but we do sincerely want to help you guys be a better trader, whether it's being more realistic about reading the charts or understanding the financials before you invest, or as you're applying that to helping you read the charts, right? That multi-layer way that I said that I look at it. Understand the financials. And then once you understand that, then it can help you figure out the chart, I think.
I mean, I think everybody that we really talked to has greatly improved and has learned a lot. And I appreciate your comment. I really do. And I hope you make a ton of money. That's ultimately the goal, is to help people learn.
Slow and steady wins the race, Mediocre.
Exactly. You don't need, just create your own MOAS is the goal.
I love that phrase. Create your own MOAS. We need to call the next live stream "Create Your Own MOAS."
That's a good one. We should.
About the Chase says, not sure if you hit on it yet, but what's the deal with Intel? We did talk about Intel briefly earlier. It is going to be the next ticker that I do a video on for you guys, like a deep dive video. Maybe this weekend. I keep on getting distracted with the truck. So I've been trying to just put out like shorter education videos. But I have some Intel in the $19 range and $20 range. For me, it's like a 5-year play. There's still risk in it. There was some bad news today, something about Germany. I haven't even read the article yet. So that's all I'm going to say right now. I am buying a little bit in this range, and I'm looking at it as like a 5-year play. So I'm not trying to buy it all today. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I have time. If it goes down, and I still think that management can turn it around, I'll probably buy more. If it goes down and I think management just sucks and they're going bankrupt, then I'll probably take the loss and sell it. But I'm up a little bit right now. It's at 2010. So yeah, I'm barely in the green. But I like it here too. I think it's at an interesting point where you should start paying attention. Let's just say that. And I'll share some more thoughts in the next let's say in the next week, whenever I get that video out.
Tony,
Yep.
you know, if I add $300 to that 200 the wife just gave me, I could buy 100 shares of AMC.
Why don't you?
I don't know. We'll see. I think I got enough, to be honest. Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. It's 11:52. I'm going to play the outro music. So what time do we? Oh, we started at 9:15. So 10, 11. Yeah, we've already done 2.5 hours. I'm just going to end it here. I'm going to play the 1-minute outro. Mediocre, thank you for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
Members of the channel, members of the Discord, thank you for supporting the content here and our work to help educate people to be more intelligent traders, less focused on all the conspiracy stuff and thinking that everybody is out to get you. They're not out to get you. You're just not understanding their job. That's my take on it. Mediocre, you got any final words?
Good night, everybody. And we'll see you in the next video.
Oh.
Let's go. Yeah. I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it, fuse like a magnet. Lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah,